Yes, we are looking at the new IS-5 that is buffed. Today we are going to go into detail how the IS-5 stacks up in 2021. We'll look at the history and we'll find out if this tank is for you. What has been buffed? Well, hull rotation dispersion buffed 17% from 0.23 to 0.19. This means the gun will shoot better when the hull is rotating. Turret rotation dispersion down 38% from 0.15 to 0.10. Again, when it's moving, it's going to shoot a lot better. Gun depression from the measly 5 degrees, you get 7 degrees of gun depression now, and that is going to make a lot of difference. Now, as usual, I'm showing you my first game in this tank. Well, technically it isn't the last time. I mean, the last time I played this tank was 5 years ago, so it isn't technically my first time playing this tank, but I guess it's story time. Let's go back to 2015 when this tank was first introduced to the game. The IS-5 was a Clan Wars reward tank in the time when the most competitive tier 8 heavy tanks were the IS-3, the 110 and the 5100. The most popular premium tier 8 heavy tanks were the WZ-111 and the 112 and even the FCM 50 ton, if you remember that tank. Back in the day, World of Tanks, they made premium tanks slightly worse than the Tech 3 tanks. So the 111 and the 112 had low standard penetration, which was 186. Now 186 standard penetration is terrible in today's standards, but in 2015 186 penetration wasn't so bad. These tanks had preferential matchmaking, the 111 and the 112 of course, meaning you won't see tier 10s in them. So worst case scenario, you're shooting standard shells into a tier 9 heavy tank. The problem was this meant the 111 and the 112 were not very efficient credit grinders. You had to shoot gold rounds at least 30% of the time, and this meant higher costs and lower profit margins. Remember, both these tanks were back-to-back marathon reward tanks. The 111 was at the end of 2014 marathon reward, followed by the 112, which was a February 2015 marathon reward tank. If you were a free-to-play player, these two tanks were like a windfall, because now you could grind endless credits in the random battles mode from free tanks. If you were a free-to-play player, this was the first time they gave away free premium tanks. So the marathon reward tanks proved to be very successful because it got a lot of people playing the game more, and that's why the marathon missions continue to this day. Now, when the IS-5 was announced, did I just get a bounce there and not got credited the blocking damage? Man, somebody please explain to me why that happens. But anyway, when the IS-5 was announced as a 2015 Clan War reward tank, there was a huge uproar in the community, and the main complaint was the 221 millimeters of standard penetration, which was APCR by default, and that means we're talking about 1,400 meters per second shell velocity, and it was only available to Clan Wars players. So IS-5 221 standard penetration, APCR 1,400 meters per second shell velocity. This is one of the strong points of the tanks. So a lot of people were upset because only the people participating in Clan Wars could get their hands on this tank, which were, arguably the most active players or the quote-unquote better players. It was unfair that you had to participate in Clan Wars to unlock this premium tank. when the clan war players finally were able to receive this tank, it turned out to be a non-starter. It was a non-event, and the excitement quickly fizzled out. Not that it wasn't a good tank, but it wasn't better than an IS-3 or a 110. Even though it had APCR and 221 penetration as standard, the IS-3 and 110 also had the same penetration values, although they weren't firing APCR shells as standard shells. The IS-5 had horrendous gun handling, 0.44 dispersion as standard, and 0.23 moving dispersions, and the turret dispersion or the turret traverse dispersion was 0.19. So in random battles, this tank was just, I would say, balanced, which was what they intended to do in 2015. Where this tank did shine, however, was in Tier 8 strongholds. Now, for those of you who didn't already know, Tier 6 and Tier 8 strongholds are the best credit grinding modes out there, if you can get people to participate and play them, of course. Back in 2015, strongholds was where it's at, and if credit grinding was your thing, the IS-5 was a godsend for free-to-play players. Getting your hands on one of these for free and then just smashing it out in strongholds means your credit worry days were over. Remember, these were the days before the Defenders, before the Progettos, before all the powerful Tier 8 premium tanks. You know, this was before the Defenders. So the most competitive heavy tanks out there were the IS-3, the 110, and the 5100. And none of them were premium. Now, personally, I didn't play the IS-5 in randoms. I probably played 4 games in it. That was it. But in strongholds, I played a total of 429 games with this tank with a 72% win rate, which means I won 308 times. Now, I ran credit boosters and personal boosters 100% of the time during Tier 8 strongholds, and if you average out the credit earnings to about 80,000 to 130,000 credits per game, I made at least 25 million credits on this tank alone. You could run this tank shooting only standard ammo, and you run food to improve your gun handling, and for equipment you run vertical stabilizers, a rammer, and vents. This tank was a credit printer, and if you are a free-to-play player today, this would be a credit printer for you too. Now, of course, in today's Tier 8 heavy tanks, this tank is overshadowed by the Defenders, the 50 TPs, the Carnarvons, the Lowies, the E75 TS, the Renegades, the 703s, the Somuas. But remember, this tank is a tank you can get for free as a clan war reward. I think recently it showed up as one of the secondary rewards in the Clan Wars workshop, meaning you can craft this tank for free as a secondary reward if you participate in Clan Wars. If you don't get the main reward of a Tier 10 premium tank, you could get this tank, a Tier 8 premium reward tank, as a secondary tank. This would be one of the tanks that you can craft out for free. I think the other tanks would be probably a Chieftain T80, a T95, or or maybe even a Super Pershing or something like that. But if you can get this tank for free, and if you smash out Tier 8 strongholds with your clan mates, with your personal boosters and clan boosters on, man, easily you are going to make 1.5-2 million credits for every 2 hour session easily. So if you are a free-to-play player, keep your eye out on the IS-5. If it's available to you to participate in clan wars and get it for free, man, if you're in a clan that doesn't even have a chance to win one of the tier 10 reward tanks, you can always target one of these tanks to get as a reward tank, so you can smash out credits for free. Man, do I recommend this tank? If you're a free-to-play player, look no further. This tank is definitely one of the tanks that you can get for free. You know, in 2021, this tank is still relevant, and now that they've buffed the dispersion from the moving dispersion from 0.23 to 0.19, and the turret dispersion 0.15 to 0.10, and then the gun depression from 5 degrees to 7 degrees, it makes this tank so much more competitive. You can see my first 2 games here, man, not too bad at all. Over 2,000 damage, earning whatever 100,000 credits or whatever. I mean, for a free tank, man, it's really hard to say no to this tank. If you're a free-to-play player, this tank is definitely for you. If you want to save your real money and smash out free credits with a free tank, man, look no further. I hope you enjoyed this video and took some information and knowledge that you can use for your game and your decision making. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.